I'm Chap Bettis, and you're listening to The Disciple Making Parent, a podcast of the Apollos Project, where we seek to equip parents and churches to pass the gospel to their children. Nothing is more precious to us than our children and their innocence. But when we drop them off at school or church, how do we know that it's a safe place? And what can we do to make it even safer? Hi, my name is Chap Bettis, and I'm the author of The Disciple Making Parent. And in today's podcast, we're going to be talking to my friend Jeff Dalrymple about a ministry that can help diminish the threat of sexual abuse in the church. And this is a vital topic, both for the safety of our children and also the reputation of Christ. Jeff has been the catalyst behind a new national organization, the Evangelical Council for Abuse Prevention, or ECAP for short. And in this conversation, he shares about the unfortunate need for his organization and how busy pastors and leaders will soon be able to make their church a safer place. For the glory of Christ and for the love of others, our churches should be some of the safest places on earth. And I want to tell you, I think Jeff is the right man for the job. He's an organizational leader with experience in roles of public safety, higher education, Christian NGOs, and parachurch organization. He has degrees in organizational management and international relations and conflict resolution. In addition, he previously served as a vice president at Southern Seminary. Jeff lives in Jacksonville, Florida with his wife, Crystal, and 4 children. And I'm happy to also mention that Jeff contributes to our ministry as a board member of the Apollos Project. And I am thankful for him as a friend. So as you listen to this conversation, think about how your church is caring for the little ones and how ECAP might be able to help. Before we start, though, I'd like to remind you to check out our online video series and workbooks. Both of these grew out of the Disciple Making Parent, which of course is our main resource. And during this launch period, we're giving away the videos for either Parenting with Patience, which is about overcoming anger, or Parenting with Confidence, which is our Parenting 101 intro course. We're giving away the videos for free with the purchase of a workbook. So head on over to parentingwithpatiencestudy.com or parentingwithconfidencestudy.com for more information about how to order the workbooks and how to get your training videos for free. But for now, let's learn about how we can make our church or ministry a safer place. Jeff, thanks for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you, Chap. It's a joy and an honor to be with you.
Well, Jeff, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast is because I've followed with joy now the development of what's known as ECAP, the Evangelical Council for Abuse Prevention. So why don't you just start telling us just a little bit about what is ECAP, how it came into existence, and what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Chap. Glad to do it. Evangelical Council for Abuse Prevention, we formed and launched a year and a half ago to establish model standards for Christian ministries, churches, Christian schools, and other ministries that serve kids. These standards become the basis for an accreditation program, which we are developing with Association of Christian Schools International, ACSI. And we hope to be a blessing, a support, an encouragement, a resource for Christian ministries in the world today. So, our main focus is in the United States, but we have plans to expand into other countries as the Lord allows in the future.
So you are there, that ECAP's purpose is really to develop standards and to prevent abuse, right, for child safety. And also, what's a little unique here or interesting for me is accreditation, in the sense of affirming that an organization is living up to what they're saying they're going to do. Let's start by just asking the question, is abuse, sexual abuse of a minor, really an issue in ministries?
Yeah, well, sadly, it really is. In the larger culture, 1 in 3 girls will be sexually abused before her 18th birthday, and 1 in 7 boys sexually abused before their 18th birthday. And so that's the larger culture. Church law and tax with Christianity Today tells us that the single greatest reason that a church ends up in court is due to the sexual abuse of a minor. So aside from that, the statistics are not really available. But we know from news articles, for example, the Houston Chronicle's done a whole series on sexual abuse in the church, the SBC in particular. Of course, we see tragically, it's horrific, Chap. It really is horrific to see 95,000 cases of sexual abuse brought against the Boy Scouts of America. Out of that figure, a large number of those took place in Protestant churches across the US. And so it's heartbreaking, but it really is an issue. And so we believe that every human being is created in the image of God, as Bible believing, gospel preaching Christians, right? And so we believe there's a biblical stewardship to ensure that our kids are safe in our Christian ministries. Furthermore, we also believe that it's a great commission. It's a gospel issue. We don't want to bring any tarnish to the name or cause of Christ. And so we want to ensure that our churches and our Christian ministries are safe places where our kids can hear the gospel, they can grow in discipleship, spiritual formation can take place. And so, that's why we've launched this new ministry, is to help ministry leaders know what to do and to verify that those things are being done.
I love what you said at the last part there. So just prevent tarnishing the name of Christ. So one is just because children are precious and to be cared for, and this is a scarring experience. But I just remember that when that spread was on the front page of the Texas paper, just the reputation that was torn down about churches and pastors and churches passing the buck. Even here in New England, really the scandals with the priests have just brought down the reputation of the Roman Catholic Church. So anything like this is going to destroy the reputation or tarnish the reputation of Christ. So this is just vitally important, apart from even the vital importance of taking care of children themselves. So talk a little bit about what makes ECAP unique, why you felt called to start the organization. So there are a number of training and resource providers. Our church has gone through a little bit of things like that. So why do we need ECAP?
Well, at the risk of repeating some of these things, we believe that we're solving two problems that do not currently exist in evangelicalism today. So you're right. There are a number of companies and providers, law firms doing some really good work. They've got training videos and background screening, and they'll help you with policies and procedures. We're not out to compete with any of those things. We want to help ministry leaders know what should be done so that when you're going to look to hire one of those providers, you know exactly what to look for. What kind of background check should we do? Actually, background checks are incredibly complex, especially when you learn about plea downs and sanctuary cities and all these different things across the US. There's multiple databases. It's fairly complex. So how do you know what kind of background check you should be doing or how often to do it? What should be included in a training program? What kind of response plan should we have if an allegation of abuse comes up in my ministry? What do I do? Who do I turn to? What resources are there? And so we are putting together this new ministry to be able to help ministry leaders know what to do. And frankly, you and I both know, Chap, having worked in ministry for a number of years, sometimes a child safety program or any other initiative that a pastor comes up with starts, but sometimes it struggles to be sustainable over the years. And it's not because someone, intentionally let something go, but maybe you've got a transition of volunteer leaders or a new pastor or whatever. And so the sustainability of your child safety program is really important. And so that's the second thing that we're solving is with our accreditation program, having an independent, right, an outside auditor come in to verify that you're still every 2 years demonstrating compliance to the standards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's great because, we both love the local church, serve the local church. We're now, but both of us are serving as non-paid elders at this point. I was a senior pastor for 25 years, and you of a small church, and so you have the best of intentions, and there are things that you want to do, but there's so many limits on your time. You only have so much time. And then you have sometimes volunteer constraints, especially in small churches. So I think just the idea of having standards, and then every so often, what's the phrase? You get what you inspect, not what you expect, And so every so often to say, hey, actually, no, we committed to every 3 years or 2 years, whatever it's going to be, to confirming that we're doing this.
That's right. Yeah. So we're just wanting to come alongside of ministry leaders and help them with this important topic because, we believe that this is a great commission. This is a gospel issue. I'm the father of 4 kids. And so I'm doing this not just because I love the local church, not just because I love Christian ministry, I love the Great Commission, but I'm also, it's very, very personal to me because I've got 4 kids who are all, deeply involved in our local church here in Jacksonville, Florida. But JJ is 16, and then I've got 3 girls, 13, 11, and 10. And so this is very personal to me as well.
Well, and I think also we're sort of talking about it from defending the innocent, but you also want to make sure that someone is not falsely accused who might be your child as well. So the whole child safety is just good for everybody. Well, think a little bit about how parents should think about just in their home this issue. I mean, I know that you've become more deeply involved as you've thought about this for a year and a half. So what advice would you give to parents who are disciple-making parents here to think about this?
Yeah, good question. So 2 things that come to my mind. The first is make sure that you as a parent are having conversations with your child throughout their formation, throughout their development, starting with the basics, what is marriage? What is authority? What's appropriate? What's inappropriate? When it comes to, and again, all of this should be in light of age appropriateness, right? You as a parent know your kids and know what they're able to handle. But at some point, you need to have the conversation about what is appropriate touch and what is inappropriate touch. So have those conversations so that if something ever were to take place, they can report it to you. And then obviously have a relationship with your kids. Doesn't that sound so obvious? But you want to have a closeness there so that if something inappropriate does take place, that they've got the relationship, you have the relationship with the child for them to come and tell you, hey, mom, dad, this happened, and I think you should know about it. By the way, I would just encourage our listeners to go back and listen to Eric Bancroft's podcast. I don't remember what it was called. Do you remember the name of it last year?
No, I'd have to go back and look. Teaching your kids about sex, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. That's right. Something that's right. Non-controversial, right? But yeah, so listen to that podcast, have those conversations. Don't just have that, birds and bees conversation, which can be so awkward, but it's a series of conversations that we should have as parents who are discipling our kids. The second thing I would encourage parents to do is to ask your Christian school, ask your church, what are you doing to protect kids? So when I drop off my kids, you should know as a parent, you should be informed what is your ministry doing to protect kids. If you're sending your kids off to a day camp or to summer camp, you should have some general idea of what they're doing to protect your kids if they're taking custody, right? If there's some sort of, they're out of your supervision for a period of time, you should have some idea of the measures in place.
Yeah, that's really good. I'll put Eric's podcast in the show notes. But yeah, that's what you bring up really is sort of 2 things. You're being preventative by asking an organization, what do you have in place? But also you're this proactive communication with your children because you know the dangers of the world. You're not being overly fearful, but you're also being realistic. And you want to be the first line of defense. So you want to have that open conversation and preventing anything appropriate. So we've talked before. You use the analogy of the whole bathing suit. No one should touch you whatever a bathing suit would cover there. So just having those conversations, and certainly there are resources. Eric in that podcast mentioned some, and we'll link to those in the show notes as well. That as parents, this is just sort of part of parenting 101 that we're going to have these conversations with our children, and maybe as they get older, overcome the awkwardness of it. But I think that's what they need even more as our kids are older. So we'll talk about how you think this would add value. We talked a little bit about this, but I just think as a pastor, I've got so much on my mind. I just feel like there's a lot of value here that know what I'm aiming for, have a checkup, and then Is ECAP going to have like some sort of good housekeeping seal of approval type thing that we could actually put on our website to say, hey, we've thought about kids?
That's right. Yeah, and it's not bulletproof. I mean, it's just demonstrating that the ministry has demonstrated compliance to the standards. So vigilance and faithfulness and good management is really, really important. But what it does, that good housekeeping seal of approval, if you will, it should hopefully provide some peace of mind to leadership to know that they're doing what they should be doing, to parents when you drop off your kids. So yeah, absolutely. We again, we don't want people to get too comfortable, but that's where, through the accreditation program, through follow-up, through a continuous improvement plan, we're really working constructively with ministries to help them excel at prevention.
That's great. I want to get to some practical things, but before we do that, I've been following with joy, kind of because of our friendship, the development of ECAP. You have an impressive board. You have an impressive group of people that came together to write the standards. Experts. Just talk a little bit about how that happened and who these people are.
Well, the Lord's been so kind to bring an incredible team together to make this all possible. Certainly not my doing. So first of all, a year and a half ago, we formed, and this is common in accreditation program development, we formed an expert panel, also known as a drafting committee, for the standards. And we pulled every aspect of abuse prevention and child protection in evangelicalism, professional roles, that is. So we included a school administrator, a ministry leader, a risk manager from a camp ministry. We included victim advocates, investigators, a forensic nurse, a retired captain in law enforcement. We brought together all of these different people and said, help us create the model standards for what child protection should look like in ministry. So we're really in the debt of all of those folks served volunteer basis, and they served countless hours. We met in Dallas, the ERLC's Caring Well conference back in, October of 2019. We met there in person for 2 days, and then another couple of days at Oaks Christian School outside of Los Angeles. And then this was a 12-month period that this drafting committee worked countless hours of meetings and work to develop these standards. Next, it went through a very rigorous legal review process led by our legal counsel, Sally Wagonmaker out of Chicago. It included Rob Showers, a former federal prosecutor, Cindy Coffey, who's on the board of ECFA, and also the legal counsel at Southeast Christian Church in Louisville, Kentucky, and also a corporate attorney from Church Mutual. So we had a fantastic team that's all come together. And then our board includes the chief operating officer of Awana, a vice president from ACSI, and a number of other ministry leaders, including the Anglican Church of North America. So yeah, about 20 people have all come together over the last year and a half to work on this project. And it's really been a labor of love because all of them are completely committed to this mission of protecting kids in ministry.
I'm getting emotional just as you're listing those people, to say this has been done well, this has been done thoughtfully, and because we care about the Lord's reputation and because we care about kids. So that's great.
But Association of Christian Schools International has given us freely their intellectual property. So we've been forming our accreditation program based on theirs. So we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. So we're really, really in their debt for their generosity in helping support this cause.
That's great. That's great. Before I ask about some very specific resources, talk a little bit about, I know I've got some listeners in Canada. There's some around the world as well, but is this going to be applicable to churches in Canada?
Yeah, great question. So we're hoping one day, Lord willing. Right now, we're beta testing the accreditation program this spring in the United States. So the accreditation is specific to the US, but we are praying and planning to expand into Canada, into other countries in the future. So we have already been working with Plan to Protect and the folks there that they helped with our standards development process, but they're based in Canada and they're doing really good work. But we're forming a board and expanding into Canada, Lord willing, in the coming years. So yes, there's some great resources, but it's going to take a little bit more time to roll this out in Canada after the US.
Well, talk a little bit. You've mentioned a few resources. What resources do you provide? And then are there other resources that you would just recommend as well?
Yeah, there's a number of things out there for sure. Some on our website. If you go to our website, which we'll include in the show notes, on our resources page, we've got several free resources. A great place to start if you're not sure, if you're in ministry and you're a leader, maybe at your church, Christian school, or wherever you might be at, and you're not sure how you're doing. We have a couple of free assessment tools that's very, very simple to use. You print those things off and you work through that checklist, and it may reveal some areas where you might improve. So that's a great place to start if you're not sure. Another resource we have on our website is free, called The Capable Guardian. It's a training video course that our friends at Teleos Teaches have provided through our website. It's a great resource. There's other training videos out there, but this one is fantastic. Teresa Sidebothan, who does the video, she led the expert panel for ECAP standards creation. So we're indebted to her for her generosity in providing that to us. Two other things I'd mention. There's a fantastic book written by Deepak Raju, Dr. Deepak Raju at Capitol Hill Baptist Church. He wrote this book called On Guard. And it really, from a pastor's perspective, summarizes the ministry and work of ECAP in book published form. So I'd commend that book to your listeners. I'm going to make this offer to anyone who contacts us through our website. If you contact us, ask for the book On Guard and mention the Disciple Making Parent in this podcast, and we'll send that to you for free. So just for listening, as a small token of our appreciation, contact us through our website and we'll send that book to you for free. The last resource I'd tell you about is a conference that we've got coming up this June 17th, 2021. We're meeting both in person live at First Baptist Nashville, immediately following the Southern Baptist Convention annual meeting on June 17th, but it's also virtual. So go to our website and learn more about the conference. We've got a fantastic lineup of speakers, breakout sessions, and other resources that we're providing to folks who want to learn more about this topic. It's our national conference on child safety. So check it out on our website.
That's great. That'll be June 17th. So it really is this the kickoff in the sense of letting people know about the organization out there?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Well, Jeff, thank you. Thank you for the work that you have done, because if you've had committees meeting countless hours, that means you've also met countless hours. And what's just really cool is about how the Lord is able to use different gifts within the body, and you're a natural connector to people, and your degree is in organizational management. And so here the Lord is using that to bring together an organization that's going to really, I believe, is going to really be instrumental in helping prevent story. You're not the ambulance rushing in. You're the guy designing the roads beforehand that says, why are we having so many accidents here? Let's actually change the road. Let's change the way we're doing things so we don't have so many cases. And often those guys go unheralded and unappreciated. So really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, we want our churches and ministries to be safe places, right, where our kids can grow and be discipled. So that's what it's about, for the glory of God and the protection of his little ones. So really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all about it, and hope that we can be a resource to some of the churches and ministries that listen in.
You've been listening to the Disciple Making Parent podcast, a ministry of the Apollos Project. For more information about the book, The Disciple Making Parent, visit thedisciplemakingparent.com. And for more information about our ministry, visit theapollosproject.com.